Hello everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Wild Doggies Fan Podcast for 2025. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. So, this is episode 17 and the beginning of the 2025 season for the Wild Doggies Fan Podcast. Now, before we begin this episode, first of all, please go follow my Instagram at the Wild Doggies Fan. I post tons of content on there, even during my little off-season and holidays that I had, and that's why I didn't post any podcast episodes for a while. I was still quite active on my Instagram, several posts, resharing all content Bulldogs related, and here we are now. It is February 7th. Footy is just about to start tonight, and time to finally make an episode. So, let's get episode 17 underway. So, the very first thing we're going to cover is the preseason week 1 challenge tips, like team list tips, all that good stuff. This will be because footy is about to start. You know, we haven't had footy for a fair few months now, and it's been a bit boring, I'll be honest, without any footy. But I found myself watching soccer to entertain myself. But here we are now. We've finally got some footy back, and we're going to get straight into the Sharks and Warriors game that is kicking off tonight at 7:30. So, we'll go through each team, and then we'll do our tips and try scorers. So, for the first game, Sharks and Warriors at 7:30 p.m. At fullback, Will Kennedy. On the wings, Sione Katoa and Sam Stonestreet. Then you got Mawene Hirioti and Carl Iro in the centers. Atkinson at 5'8". Nawahi Puru at halfback. And again, they didn't put their original starting, like their typical round 1 starting side. So you got like Jaden Beryl at hooker, Hazleton as starting prop, Talakai as starting second row, Oregon Kafusi at lock. You know, no Nico Hines, no Trindle, no Ramian. Like, again, it's preseason, it's trials. You're not going to get, you know, their star set. It's their, you know, original round 1 team, what it would look like. So for the Warriors, we got Chance Nickel-Klukstad at fullback, Watane Lesniak at winger, Adam Pompey in the centers, as well as Ali Leatua. Originally, we had Roger Tuivasa-Sheck on the wing, but he's had, I think, an injury niggle, so he's not going to be playing. Instead, Edward Cossey is the other winger. Tamari Marta and Luke Metcalf in the halves pairing. Not what I was originally thinking. I thought it would have been the other way around, but I'm so happy with this decision. You know, that's been the big talking point for the Warriors. A halfback to replace SJ now that he's retired. A big one. James Fisher-Harris playing his first game in Warriors colours at starting prop. Wade Egan at hooker. Mitch Barnett named as captain. I'm assuming he'll be the full-time captain now that SJ and Tohou Harris have both retired. I know I just talked about how the Sharks didn't put their starting side because, you know, it's preseason challenge and not like a game that really matters too much. However, the Warriors have done the complete opposite and have named almost what you would assume their starting side looks like, almost. So it'll be very interesting. Again, it's just, we're finally getting footy back. It's been quite a long off-season, you know. Obviously, there was not much to, there wasn't enough content week to week where I could do weekly episodes, and that's why, you know, my last video was the draw review and analysis. But I'm finally happy. I'm happy we're finally doing this again. We're doing the podcasting. This is all back in business. And now there's finally some footy to talk about and watch. And I'm very excited for that for tonight. Now, as for tips and predictions, it's a bit hard with this one because, you know, like you don't really know what's going to happen. But since the Warriors just have more of their starting side and more like proper first graders, I will back the Warriors here. I want to say 13 plus, but I don't know. It might be close. You know, teams always start a bit like they're still trying to warm their bodies up, you know, get used to it. They haven't played footy in a few months. So I'll pick the Warriors, but only by 1 to 12. I'm not going to say 13 plus. Now, we'll move on to the second game of preseason week 1. And the only other game, there's only 2 games this week for week 1 of preseason challenge. And that is Panthers and Raiders at 7:30 p.m. at Shark Park, same as the other game. This is on the Saturday. Now, for the Panthers, they've got Dane Laurie at fullback. Both the McLean brothers on the wing. Sione Fanoa, sorry if I got that wrong. And center, the same as Asul Kapoa, Jack Cole and Brad Schneider in the halves. Luke Summerton at hooker. Maverick Gaia at second row. Big one though, Isaiah Papali'i, the new sign, one of the only few signs that they made. He's the second row. Also, forgot to mention, for my anytime try scorers for the Warriors and Sharks game, I'm going to do 2 for each of these games because, it's a lot easier or more interesting than just 1 try scorer per game. For these two, there's only 2 games this week. So for the Sharks and Warriors game, I'm going to pick 1 from each team. I'm going to go with one of the only first graders, like proper first graders in their side. Sione Katoa is going to score for the Sharks. And for the Warriors, I'm just going to go basic and simple. I'm going to go Watane Zelezniak. I think just the 2 wingers, I feel like they're going to want to get their season up and running, start scoring some tries nice and early and get back into their try-scoring habits. They're both great try scorers. So they're both my picks. Then back to this Panthers and Raiders game. For the Raiders, Chevy Stewart at fullback, Albert Hopewadi in 1 center spot, Adam Cook and Ethan Sanders in the halves, Owen Paddy at hooker, someone who I think might debut this year, Simi Sasagi at second row, Miles Martin at lock. That's really it for these sides. Again, it's a lot of just the juniors getting some playing time, but it's good football to watch again. Obviously, the real NRL doesn't start till March. Nevertheless, this is still something I look forward to watching. So I'm going to pick Panthers to win this one. I just think their junior system's a little bit better than the Raiders. Even though majority of the Raiders' first grade side is like juniors, I still think the Panthers' junior system is better because clearly it's been able to tune out, so many phenomenal players. So I'm going to pick Panthers here. And again, only 1 to 12. And for anytime try scorers, I wanted to pick Casey McLean because he had such a great year last year, but I'm going to go with his brother Jesse. I think after his injury, he's going to want to come back, make a statement, start scoring some tries, and catch up to his brother. And then I'm going to pick from the Raiders Owen Paddy, just because he's the most memorable name that I remember or that I actually know from that list. So I think he'll be a good pick. I think just try scorer just be something interesting. Okay, now that my tips are done and my predictions for the preseason games for this weekend, I want to begin my new series leading into the start of the NRL season, and that is Project SuperCoach 2025. So I'm going to explain what that is, and then we'll get straight into what it actually is about. So Project SuperCoach 2025 is a series I'm going to make leading into the start of this NRL season, where I'm going to go through each SuperCoach, like the positions of the team, and construct my SuperCoach team with you guys. Because I noticed last year, I wanted to do more SuperCoach stuff, but it was hard to do it because it was back end of the season. Everyone kind of already knew what they were doing, and it was a bit hard to do actual SuperCoach talk. But now it's a brand new season. It's a clean slate. I've now had a full year of SuperCoach experience under my belt. I'm a little bit more experienced. I kind of know what I'm talking about now. So, yeah, what this is just going to be a series journey where I construct my team alongside you guys. You guys give me your feedback in the comments about how I should build my team. We're going to go position by position each week, or 2 a week, and we're just going to construct my team. We'll get it ready for round 1 of this year, which will be in Vegas, which is in not much longer to go. Actually, on the SuperCoach website, they have the official countdown. So the very first game of round 1 is in 22 days, 22 hours, 44 minutes, and 22 seconds. So we're very, very close to the start of the season. Almost 3 weeks to go. Almost. Alright, so we're going to go through each position by the top of the list down to the bottom. And not by number, I mean the way it's constructed on the website. So from hooker, front rower, second rowers, halfbacks, 5/8s, CT dubs, wing and centers, fullbacks, and then the new flex position. Since this is the very first week of this series, we're going to start nice and simple. We're only going to do one position for this week, and that is going to be the hooker position, because that is one that requires quite a fair bit of analysis. Then we'll get into some signing news, some news topics that happened. This whole episode is pretty much just doing a little recap of everything that happened in December, January, and a bit of February, and then, it's kind of just one big recap, because these all happened throughout that time period, but it wasn't enough to do weekly episodes. So here we are now, and yeah. So let's begin with Project SuperCoach 2025 hooker analysis. So what I've done is I've constructed a list of the top hookers. I think for SuperCoaches, I've got 7 I want to talk about, and then I've also got 5 hooker cheapies to talk about, because I believe, obviously with this team, you only have a budget of like 11.8 million, so you need to construct a team with a lot of cheapies. You can't just have all high value players, because obviously you'll go over the cap, it won't work. So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to go through, we'll go through the cheapies first, because they're the more popular talking points. They're actually ranked in an order. I got 5 of them, ranked from which one I think is the best cheapie or the worst cheapie to the best cheapie out of the 5. And same thing for the gun hookers. And then I'll begin constructing that position first. So, let's get started. First one, Lachlan Croker from the Manly Sea Eagles. I consider him a cheapie, $334,200. At 1% ownership, so clearly people are considering him as a hooker spot in their team. Look, the main reason why I think you'd put him in the team is because Manly's draw to start the season is like pretty incredible. Like, they got one of the better draws to like start this season, and that's kind of how you want to build your team, is kind of who's got a good start, who's got a bad start. It's easy to construct it like that way. So for Manly, they start off with Cowboys in Manly, Warriors in New Zealand, Raiders at home, Eagles at home, Melbourne at home. Like, they only go to New Zealand once, and then they just play in Manly for the first 5 weeks. Like, they got a pretty like soft draw. The only hard game is Melbourne, but again, it's in Manly. They play really well against Melbourne and Manly. Like, look what happened last year. So with this one, Lachlan Croker, again, I can see the potential in this team, but I personally don't have him in my starting side. Like, he was kind of just like a filler spot. These next 4 were all genuine considerations for the one of the positions. Because again, you only get 2 hookers in your team, so it's only really 2 options. Or 2 like selections. So, in number 4, Brendan Hands from the Parramatta Eels. Priced at $349,000 or $349,300 and 2% ownership, so more people are considering him. Now, Parramatta's draw, it starts out really rough with Melbourne round 1. Like, that's absolutely brutal. Then it's Tigers at home, Dogs at home, Manly away, and then Dragons at home. They've got a very rough draw. Like, yeah, Tigers are CommBank. That could be easy for them, but Tigers play really good at CommBank. Plus, new season for them. Tigers have a lot to prove. Dogs at CommBank, that's going to be a tough game. Like, our defense is, one of the best in the comp, so that'll be a tough one for them. Manly at home, the attacking flair of Manly, and Parramatta's poor defense last year, that just looks like a recipe for disaster. And then Dragons at home, we saw happen last year. That was like one of the craziest games ever, like 44-40, like insane stuff. So, again, I can see the potential. Like, the thing is, he's a consistent hooker. Like, these other 3 spots, their biggest issue is you just don't know if they're going to guarantee they're going to be there the whole season. With Brendan Hands, barring injury, he'll be the consistent hooker all year. Like, the next 3 spots are all like, genuine, like real cheapies. All got high ownership, but they're genuine cheapies, and you don't know if they're really going to be consistently in the side or not. That's what makes Brendan Hands a very good pick. Like, I considered him for a long time, but I know these guys are just a bit cheaper, and they might have better potential in them. That brings me to number 3 from the Brisbane Broncos, Blake Mozer, $312,000 and 12% ownership. That's quite a high ownership. Everyone's been raving about him as, this young, up-and-coming gun. He's going to be an absolute machine for them. And he probably will be. Like, when he was on the field last year, he was really solid. It's just I don't know how consistent it's going to be at starting hooker. And also, if you have a look at the Broncos' start to the year, like, Roosters away, I think they'll win that. Raiders at their home, Cowboys at home for them, like, that'll be a big one. Dolphins at Suncorp and Broncos at Suncorp. Like, they literally like don't leave Suncorp for like 3 weeks straight. And again, they could easily pump Tigers, Dolphins, Raiders, hell, even Cowboys, maybe even Roosters. They might have really good starts this season. We just don't know what this new Broncos is going to look like under Madge Maguire. That's why I have my reservations about him. But also the fact, like, we don't know if he's actually going to get the starting role. Like, it might go to, like Billy Walters or maybe even someone else. Because they have a fair few hookers they can actually go through. It's really bizarre with the Broncos situation with their hooker position. Like, some teams, they have, like, little to no hooker options. But then teams like the Broncos have, like, so many of them. Like, they got Moser, they got, Billy Walters, and they got Tyson Smoothie. Like, fair few options here. But I'm personally going to stick with Blake Moser. Also, I'm having a look. His ownership has dropped. It's now 11% ownership. So, some people were high on him. Now they're second-guessing themselves. Now, these next two are by far the two most popular hooker picks. Even in general, even beyond the young, like the gun hookers, they are the two most owned hookers. We'll go with, in second position, Peter Mamazelis from Souths, 302,900, 31% ownership. He has been highly praised. He's going to be the replacement for Cookie, and he's going to be an absolute machine, and a young up-and-coming gun. I just don't know if he's going to consistently be in the side as well. Like, that's my genuine concern with having Pete in the team. Like, also, he's not, like, young. He's struggled to get a star in this team. I just don't know what Bennett's got in store for him. They might go with someone else. I'm not too sure. That's why he's second. I still have my reservations on him. The big one, though, number one, by far, I think one of the most owned players in general in SuperCoach. Sandon Smith from the Roosters, $237,600 at 54% ownership. More than half the people playing this game own Sandon Smith in their team. Now, I see a lot of reasons why. He's going to be a part of the starting team at least until Sam Walker comes back. Even though his position's a halfback and hooker, I think he's going to play 5'8", or maybe he'll play halfback. We're not 100% too sure yet. We'll see what round one team looks like. But that dual position with hooker is what's driving up his ownership, because a lot of people want him, at hooker. I personally am going to put him there. I think he's going to generate good value. At that cheap price, he's bound to earn you like a good several $100,000. I reckon he'll get a good $500,000 maybe, depending on how well he plays, how well Roosters play. He might be worth like quite a fair bit, which means once Sam Walker does come back, you can trade him out for a better hooker, or you can trade him another player to get a top gun in like another position. So for me, Sandon Smith is the go-to cheapy hooker. Perfect pick. And yeah, he's my go-to. He'll be in my starting. He'll be in my team. Now the big one, I want to go to my top hookers to put in your squad for 2025. Alright, there's 7 of them. 2 pods and a bunch of like just really popular ones who most people will put in their team. Now, coming at number 7, I've got Damien Cook from the Dragons at $662,300, 2% ownership. I think he's a little too much. I think that value is going to drop again. When you are picking your SuperCoach team, you're building it, you got to pick the players who aren't necessarily like expensive, but the players who you're going to get more value out of to build the value of your team. Now with Damien Cook, that's already a pretty high price for someone who is sharing a hooker role with Jacob Little. Now, granted, what they might do, and it's what builds a bit of intrigue around the Dragons for this year, Damien Cook could play hooker for like, I don't know, 60 minutes, maybe a bit less. Then they bring on Jacob Little, he goes to hooker, and Damien Cook could be like a like a roaming lock, and that might be something for him, or a rangy forward. We don't know what they're really going to do with him. Again, they've made him co-captain with Clint Gutherson, so clearly he's going to have a leadership around the team. You'd want him on the field as much as you can. I personally am skipping out on him. I think that value is just way too much for someone who with the Dragons could easily flop. Now, a really great pod. I personally am a big fan of this one. Blake Brayley from the Sharks, 519,200, 3% ownership. The Sharkies have the possibility to be like a top 2 team this year. They've got a squad that could like challenge a premiership if Melbourne were a team. And I know a fair few people are going to put him in their squad. I personally am not. I think it's too much of a risk, especially the hooker position for the Sharks has never been like a heavily favoured one. But I still recommend it to people who want to go for a unique pod play. Now we'll go to some popular picks. Api Coruscant from the Tigers, $612,300, 6% ownership. Again, he is the commander at the Tigers. He is now co-captains with Jerome Luai, but he's now been a part of the Tigers for this to be his 3rd year now. He drives a lot of their force through the middle. He brings a lot of try-scoring opportunities for them through the middle. So I think he's a big part. He's a big part of the team and what's going to help them, get out of this dark place that they're in currently. But I'm still going to skip out. I had him last year for a good chunk of the year. He plummeted at times, like when they got pumped and he was getting sin-binned. It wasn't good to have him. I eventually had to get rid of him. I couldn't handle owning him like that. So I'm going to skip out on him this year, but still a good pick. These next two, I was heavily considering to have them both in my team, but too much money spent. Reece Robson from the Cowboys, 590,600 at 3% ownership. Again, he was in my squad last year. He did well for me, like not like outstanding. And the only reason why I've got him 4th instead of 3rd, I just don't know about Cowboys this year. I think they've lost a lot of experience. They already lack defensively. Their defense was pretty bad last year. The only reason why they kept winning was because they scored more points than they conceded, which was weird strategy, but it got them to week 2 of the finals. I'm just not too sure on Reece Robson, especially now he's going to the Roosters in 2026. Like, he might not be as committed anymore to the Cowboys. I'm going to hold off on him. This was a big consideration for a long time. Jeremy Marshall-King from the Dolphins, 555,100 at 4% ownership. Honestly, I was going to put him in my team. But, again, don't know how Dolphins are going to go this year. The Wayne Bennett curse, normally when he leaves a team, the very next year that they don't perform well, or even in general, they just don't perform well after he leaves. Again, I'm holding out on both of them because I just don't know what they're going to bring. But for a while, I had them both in my squad. But again, it's over $1 million in the hooker position, which that's a lot of money. These next two were heavy favorites. Connor Watson, the most owned player in this whole list, at 24% ownership and 583,000. He's a very popular pick. I'm personally going to skip out on him. Again, I have my questions around the Roosters. I just don't know how they're going to... Again, that is my reason why some of these players I just haven't put in my team. I just don't know how they're going to perform this year. But Connor Watson, again, if you have him in the team... Actually, his ownership is bumped up. He's now 25% owned. So, more people are jumping on the bandwagon of getting Connor Watson. And I heavily agree with that. I think it's a really good pick. I like it. It's just if I'm going to have him in my team, I don't know if I want to waste the hooker position. I'd rather put him at like second row. Because he only play hooker for like what? A few games, and then Brandon Smith comes back. So it's again that player stability I just don't know. But for me, the number one hooker to have in my SuperCoach team, and he was one of my earliest like set and forget picks. Like there's a few players in all SuperCoach at the moment where I kind of like I saw them, I was like, yep, 100% locked in my team. They're not going anywhere. And for me, one of them at number 1, Harry Grant from the Melbourne Storm. $691,600, 16% ownership. Again, it's gone up. Again, I know he's actually the most expensive hooker in the comp. I think the value is worth it. Like, you're going to get out of him. He's consistent. He's never going to get dropped. He's the captain, for goodness sakes. They're never going to drop him. I get the concerns, like the fact that round 2 he doesn't even play round 2 because they have a bye, and then Origin, like Melbourne play, I believe, like some of those major bye rounds. They don't play round 12. They don't even play round 15. Actually, there we go. We might have a winner here. Let's get to the last one. Okay, they play one of the major bye rounds, which is not that bad. Obviously, and then the actual buys he doesn't play. that's why, like, my two main picks, like, for the hooker position in general, my main two picks would be Harry Grant as one of my starting hookers. And then for a cheapie, you can either go Peter Mamazelis or Zyon Smith. But honestly, after much consideration, I think because I needed a player with stability and I know he's going to provide for my team, I'll go Brendan Hands. That's my current hooker pairing. Again, it might change to Zyon Smith. Those are the two I'm kind of jumping between back and forth. Brendan Hands and Zyon Smith. It's just that price value of Brendan Hands is like, it's over 100 grand more than Zyon Smith, which is, in the grand scheme of things, that's quite a fair bit. But again, I'm jumping back and forth between them. Currently, you'll see on the screen, you'll see in the hooker position, Harry Grant and Zyon Smith. That is currently what I'm actually going to sit with. Brendan Hands, he might join the side later. It just comes down to ultimately what I might do, which is an idea that just came to my head now. I might keep Zyon Smith until Sam Walker comes back. Then I'll trade him out for Brendan Hands, who by then both of them would have earned a bit of money. Maybe Zyon Smith will have a bit more than Parramatta. That way I'll have actually a fair bit of money left over to spend on other players in other positions I might need. So currently, Zyon Smith and Harry Grant as my hooker pairings. And that is part one, or, that is the beginning of Project SuperCoach 2025. That is the hooker position. Make sure you tune in next week. I'll be covering two positions, the front row and second front row positions. That's a doozy. There's a lot of players to cover in this one. And I'm very excited to be doing this series. I'm glad to be going into more in-depth about SuperCoach. Like, I was bored out of my mind waiting for SuperCoach to start again because I'll check the app every day. Is it back on yet? No. And then finally they announced, I believe, like late January, SuperCoach is back, and I've been addicted nonstop, playing around with the team options. Again, you can see on my Instagram at the Wild Doggies Fan, which you all should follow. I was posting constantly SuperCoach stuff, and just been playing around with it. And I've already kind of constructed what I think will be my starting team. I've already kind of constructed it, but I want to bring you guys along with this journey, and you can follow along if you also are learning to build your SuperCoach team. Because again, it's only my second year. I'm learning, you're learning. It's all a united experience. So now that my SuperCoach discussion is finished, we're going to cover some signing news. All the not every single one of them, because there was a few that kind of went under the radar no one really talks about. I've got listed down just the big ones that were big talking points. Now, the really big one, I'm covering the biggest signing off the bat. The Bulldogs have finally signed a prop and have signed the player I've been talking about for months on end, Leo Thompson himself. We finally did it. I remember seeing the post and just going, holy shit, we finally did it. We finally signed Leo Thompson. Like, you can backtrack through the videos. I have been talking about signing Leo Thompson for months. Months of it. I have been saying we should sign him. He's a big forward. He's, an alpha prop. Like, all the way back in September, I was talking about signing a player like him. Like, September. Like, that was, months ago. But here we are now. We have now officially signed him. I'm so excited. He's honestly, once he joins the team in 2026, he's going to be one of my favorite players. Like, again, I should preface that. We've signed him on a 4-year deal from 2026, 27, 28, and 29. So he doesn't actually join the club until next year. However, the fact that we've locked him in, that's fine. I don't care. Obviously, there was a brief period where he wasn't going to sign with us, and it was all talks that we pulled out, and we weren't going to sign him, and that he was going to go sign with the Raiders. But, clearly he wants to be in the area instead of in Canberra, which I can't blame him. And I'm so happy. Like, I've been saying we need to sign him. He's the last piece of the puzzle that we needed to complete this team. He's a big body forward, plenty of aggression and passion. He's a perfect fit for the Dogs. Like, I'm just so happy that we not only signed a prop, but one who's going to be an alpha prop for this team. Gus and Sirota have done the impossible for us. Like, that we, for a long time, could not sign a prop. We didn't get Stefano. We didn't get Adam Fanua-Blake. We didn't get Terrell May. There's probably a bunch of other props. Corey Horsburgh, we didn't get him. There was a lot of props who were rumored we were going to sign. But I'm glad we signed the one with probably the biggest potential. Like, he's such a young player. He's already represented New Zealand. You know, he's a big, like, aggressive forward. And I think he's just going to bring, like, that dog mentality to this team. A bit more aggression to the forward pack. Because we've developed a bit of a mobile forward pack, which some teams or some, like, fans and teams all say it's too small and we're going to get bullied through the middle. Which we didn't for most of the years because, you know, we had a resilient year of defense. But I think bringing someone like him is good. Going to bring that aggression, that dominance, and just dominate through the middle. So that's going to be really good. I've been raving about it non-stop that we should sign him. We finally did it. I am so happy. And honestly, I would love to, like, interview him next year. Like, at an open training session, I would love to interview him. But, again, one can only hope for that. For now, we should just be happy that he's signed with the Dogs. He's a part of the team. And, yeah, I'm just so happy. There's also other signing news for the Dogs. We did sign another forward. This was only announced a couple of days ago. We signed a young 21-year-old prop from the New Zealand Warriors, Zyon Maiu'u. I hope I got that right. Forgive me if I got that wrong. You know, I've seen some of his highlights. He's an absolute beast. He's huge, absolutely dominant. He's already been at training session, already training and preparing for, you know, to be part of our squad, which is great. It was an effective, immediate signing, and I'm very happy with that. I think just adding another forward to our system is great. And welcome to the team, Zyon. Now, so for some other signing news, Ben Hunt to the Broncos after you know, all his drama with the Dragons, and then Bulldogs wanting to sign him, Roosters may be signing him, Dolphins aiming to sign him. He's ultimately decided to return back home. I think he's gone back to where he truly belongs, in my opinion. I didn't think the Broncos were going to sign him because of the salary cap, but they found a way to make it work because, you know, it's the Broncos. They made it work. And now Ben Hunt is back where he belongs, where he's always wanted to be, back up in Queensland with the Broncos, probably for the last 2 years of his career, because that's the contract, for 2025 and 2026. I can't imagine he'll play much longer. I think he'll play the last 2 years of the Broncos and then Gala, so he'll retire. He'll, you know, enjoy retirement. So, yeah, Ben Hunt to the Broncos. I know it happened months ago, but it's just something that needed to be said, and I'm very excited to see how he fits into the team. Obviously, with Ezra Mam out for 9 weeks, which I think is absolutely stupid, which I'll talk about later, he'll probably start at 5'8", and then when Ezra Mam comes back, he'll shift to hooker. That's another thing to why I don't think Blake Mozza is a good pick for the start for a hooker in your SuperCoach team. Ben Hunt will probably take over the hooker position when Ezra Mam does come back eventually. Anyway, this signing came out of nowhere. It wasn't like talked about much in the media. It just came out of nowhere and then it just blew up everywhere. Reece Robson to the Roosters in 2026. Everyone been talking for a long time that it was just too quiet at the Roosters. You know, they had all this money in the salary cap, that on the books and off the books. They've lost a lot of experience in their players. You know, they've lost like 5 or 6 players. Terrell May they literally removed Terrell May. Like, they had a lot of money to play with. Even, like, obviously, as we all know, whatever their salary cap is, it's double. And whatever money they have in their war chest, double it. Regardless, they still have money to actually play with on the books. And everyone was wondering what's taking so long. Who are they going to sign? Because, you know, Roosters are notorious for just signing anyone they want because they have the money for it. And just when the Cowboys were beginning to build a consistent spine that might get them into grand finals and other finals games, the Roosters have come along and they've done what they do best, and they've taken someone that was developed in another team's system. Like Reece Robson, you know, New South Wales hooker, Australian hooker. He had a big year last year, and now he's gone to the Roosters in 2026. And that means Brandon Smith will be, you know, he'll probably be shopped around somewhere else after this, because I can't imagine they'll be re-signing him. It's a smart move on Robson's account, but it's a huge blow for the Cowboys. Like, they're already trying to build a team here and get some consistency. Like Tommy Dearden, Scotty Drinkwater, and Reece Robson with a compatible halfback. That's a great spine, but it's all been changed now, and we'll see what the Cowboys do going into 2026. but at least we get one more year with him in Cowboys colours. Now for some Dragon signings. They've obviously made a lot with Val Holmes, Damien Cook, Clint Gutherson, but they made 2 new ones over the offseason. Daniel Atkinson will join the Dragons in 2026, so he's got one more year with the Sharks. And Lachlan Ilias from the Rabbitohs, was the scapegoat for their failure at the start of the year, got dropped to New South Wales Cup, and then broke his leg in a horrible injury. And now he's gone to the Dragons. He'll probably be their starting halfback after Ben Hunt got the sack. Or, both of them agreed he'll leave. So I think it's a good sign for the Dragons. They need a halfback with some actual experience. But I still think it's a long way to go for the Dragons before they consider finals. Now Atkinson, he can be a good 5'8", even a great utility off the bench. He's doing well at the Sharks, but I think he needs to have a starting position at a team. And the Dragons, I think the local rivals, that's a good pick. Now, I know I mentioned this earlier, but I still want to talk about it. Sign news is over. We're not talking about other news. Tohou Harris over the offseason announced his retirement from NRL, or from retiring in general. His career is finished, and again, round of applause to him, man. Absolute stunning career. Played exactly 117 games for both the Melbourne Storm and the Warriors. He's more famous for being with the Warriors, Kiwi, and being a part of the team during the time period when they weren't playing in New Zealand for a year or two because of COVID. Obviously, he won a comp with Melbourne and had that great moment in the 2017 Grand Final where they had that sick pass to the Fox, who then scored. But I believe he's more famous for being a part of the Warriors. He was literally their leader, their mountain during their dark periods, and then had all the accolades of 2023. Had a lot of bad injuries in 2024, and that's ultimately led to his retirement. But he had a great career. And I think honestly one of the most underrated locks in the game, and I think in a few years' time everyone will appreciate him more, and people will start to realize he was one of the best locks we've probably seen in a long time. So congratulations to Harris. Enjoy retirement. This does raise some concerns for the Warriors. They have now lost Sean Johnson and Tohou Harris and Adam Fanua-Blake. That is a lot of experience, a lot of size, and a lot of skill. Some of their best players have now either retired or gone to other clubs. And that raises a lot of concerns going into the 2025 season. I know they've got James Fisher-Harris, who's going to be an immense signing for them. I still have my concerns, and I'm a little cautious of how they're going to perform this year. I don't expect finals football, I'm going to be honest, but we'll see what happens. Now, last little bit of not really signing news, but Dylan Brown's being shopped around. His manager had some emails leaked that he was shopping him around at other clubs. He's had a bunch of clauses in his contracts. There's a bunch of stuff Parramatta have done. You know what they do. They screw things up. And, Dylan Brown is now being shopped around other teams. Teams like the Roosters are showing interest. Perhaps the Dolphins, even Warriors. Recently, Newcastle, I think, are about to throw a shitload of money at him. I think he's a bit overrated. I'm going to be completely honest. Again, there might be my Bulldogs bias coming in. He is a top 5, 5'8". I still don't think he's as good as people claim he is. And I don't know. I think it's a bit of a weird case. I didn't think he'd leave Parramatta. I think with Mitch Moses and the combination they've got with that team, he'd want to stick around. But again, ultimately, it's whatever the Parramatta board decide and whatever his manager decide. And at the end of the day, Dylan Brown, realistically, it's what he wants to do because it's his career. Now, the Ezra Mam punishment. Over the offseason, Ezra Mam did some dumb shit. He drove under the influence without a license on a quote-unquote cocktail of drugs, hit a car that had a minor in it, had to go to the court and was in hospital, been to rehab. He's had it's just a whole bunch of really ugly mess. And what does the NRL do as a punishment? A 9-week suspension. Are we taking the fucking piss here? 9 weeks? That's all he gets? This man shouldn't even be playing this year. Genuinely, he shouldn't be playing this year. You do that kind of stuff. Think of the shit that's gone down at other moments throughout the year. The big one. Spencer Leniu last year calls him a quote-unquote monkey, and he gets 8 weeks. 8 weeks of calling someone a name, but you nearly kill like a child and, you know, danger people and drive dangerously and on drugs. 9 weeks. What the fuck are you doing, NRL? Like, that is honestly one of the most embarrassing punishments I've ever seen dished out to someone. Personally, I wouldn't be playing him at all this year. Alright, he clearly needs to sort out his off-field issues. He needs to get help. He needs to look after himself. He needs to clear his head, get away from all the lights and the fans. He needs to just, you know, bring himself back down to earth and, you know, humble himself. That's ultimately what he needs to do. And this punishment doesn't even serve Ezra Mam right, because now people are mad at him, even though people were already mad at him. Now they're even more pissed that he's gone away with it. Pretty much, he's got a slap on the wrist. So you watch come round 10, that's when he comes back round 10, because he's gone for 9 weeks. Round 10 he comes back. Wait, if Broncos have a bye in between, he might not be round 10. But my point still stands. Whatever game he comes back to, is going to have boos. Even if it's at Suncorp, he'll still be booed. Like, people are pissed at him. Like, obviously he's done something, you know, really dangerous and really stupid. Okay, the Broncos don't have a bye in the first 10 weeks, so round 10 against the Bunnies at a core, he's going to get booed. I don't blame them. Hell, if I was a sales support, I'd be booing him too. Actually, if I was there, I'd boo him. Like, what he did was wrong, and it needs to be severely punished, because that's such a dangerous thing to do, to endanger a child. And not even that, like, driving under the influence without a license and on a quote-unquote cocktail of drugs. You think it's 9 weeks? He shouldn't be playing this year. Genuinely, he shouldn't be playing this year. Honestly, no. He should be behind bars. But I don't know, man. I was so frustrated. When I first saw that, I couldn't believe it. Like, that's an absolute joke of a punishment, and I'm so disappointed. I'm very, very pissed off about this, as you can see. Because, you know, I think shit like that needs to be... Like, players need to be held accountable for doing dangerous things and doing stupid shit. But ultimately, I'm not on the NRL board. I'm not part of the Broncos board either. And that's the punishment he's received. And hopefully he'll be able to... In 9 weeks, he'll be able to, you know, get his head clear. And now some more news that pissed me off during the off-season. The PNG team was announced. I think this is such a... I know some people are seeing it as a positive, like, oh, we're expanding the game, we're bringing in new talent, new players. I personally disagree. I personally think we shouldn't be doing this. Like, the fact that Papua New Guinea is, like, one of the most dangerous countries at the moment currently, like, the crime rate is so high over there that the NRL even acknowledged that if they do have to go through with this, they have to build a compound with security guards to keep them safe. And then on top of all that, the taxing and, you know, the idea of their salary cap is going to be ridiculous. They could sign pretty much whoever they want for a shit ton of money, and players will go sign with them because it'll be a mad payday. Like, it defeats the purpose. You should be blooding the PNG players, not just buying good players who are here and putting them at risk. But then also the travel fact. Like, what are you going to do? Host games in Papua New Guinea and then, like, have players have to do all that, like, do the travel to Papua New Guinea? Like, what if someone, like, lives... Like, let's say, for example, like, trying to get a player off contract, a big one. Like, Tony Staggs, he's off contract. And players... Oh, actually, we'll go with Dylan Brown. That's more recent news. Dylan Brown goes off contract and PNG sign him for, like, I don't know, $1.5 million because they have the money to do it. He's going to have to go relocate over to PNG, a notoriously dangerous country. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a huge risk, and I disagree with it. But ultimately, we can't do much about it. It's already been done. It will be happening in 2028, I believe, which I think is very quick expansion, even though we just introduced a new team 2 years ago. I digress. Now we're going to do some more stuff to look forward to. Now that we've had a little bit of a negative bubble, we're going to talk in a more positive light now with players to watch in 2025. Over the next couple of weeks leading to round 1 as well, I'm going to cover certain things that fans should be excited for going to 2025. For this week, it's players to be excited for. I think there's a lot of players currently that fans should get around and be very excited to see in 2025. Okay, I currently have 10 spots. Number 10 was a hard one for me because I wasn't too sure who I was going to put at number 10. But honestly, I was thinking about more and more which teams have either have a lot to prove or they need to be on a bounce back. I personally think at the number 10 spot, I'm going to put... it's a hard one because 1 through 9, I knew off the bat, okay, I'm going to put this person here, because there's an expectation put on them. But honestly, when it comes to here on from number 10, it's been really hard. But I think I'm gonna stick with Lindsey Smith from the Panthers. He had a solid year last year. He got to represent Australia for his debut for Australia. That was huge. Won another grand final with Panthers. And I think this year, now that James Fisher-Harris is gone, that's going to create a bit of a hole in the Panthers forward pack. And I think a player Lindsey Smith fans should keep an eye out for and see how he performs. I feel like he's going to be the player to step up and fill that role. At number 9, Isaiah Katoa from the Dolphins. He had a great he had a good run with the Tongan side last year in the international games. And, he's being touted up as the next gun halfback who rival Cleary, Hughes, Nico Hines, all that stuff. And again, he's a great halfback. So fans should again be very keen to keep an eye on him. He's got, I think under Christian Wolf, he's got a lot of expectations now. And I think in the long run he will be one of the best halfbacks. But that's a player to keep an eye out for this year. And number 8, Matty Burton from the Bulldogs. After the year he had last year where, he was one of the best 5'8s. Even though he didn't play for either Australia or the Blues, he was still either on the bench or even just a part of that squad in general. And then being the driving engine for the Bulldogs, without him, the Dogs don't do as... they barely win any games. Because we would get, smashed through the middle, or let's say we had a bad set and, we barely made any meters. You give the ball to Burton, he's booting the hell out of it, and it's gone on the opposition's 20-meter line, 10-meter line. Take him out of the squad, mate. We barely get the ball far, and we probably get pummeled more often than we actually did. Obviously, we only got pummeled once or twice last year. Point being, we wouldn't have won those golden point games without him. So Burton is a player I think everyone should keep an eye out for, and I think he's going to be, honestly, this could be his Dally M year potentially. Number 7, Ben Hunt, the Broncos. He's finally back at his home. He's been wanting to go there for years. He's finally back there. He's got a lot to play for now, and especially in the shape where the Broncos are in, where they had a bad year last year, but on paper, their squad should be top 8, if not top 4. Now they've got Matt Maguire as their coach, who is, as you know, just won the New South Wales Origin Series last year. So Ben Hunt has a lot to prove, and I think he's got a lot of expectations to meet. At number 6, AFB from the Sharks. Coming from the Warriors after winning Dally M Prop of the Year, I believe, 2 years in a row. He's already kind of told people that he's going to play less minutes in 2025. Regardless, I think he's still got a lot to play for and a lot to meet. He's got expectations, and he's got a lot to... obviously he's one of the most touted up props at the moment. Everyone adores him. Everyone respects him. He's a great prop. He had a great run with the Tongan players again. And yeah, I think at the Sharks, he's a player everyone should keep an eye out for. At number 5, Latrell Mitchell from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. After the controversy he had last year with the photo and then injuries and just a general terrible season the Rabbitohs had, Latrell Mitchell's got a lot now to prove, and I think especially under Wayne Bennett, I think Latrell Mitchell needs a coach who's going to be stern and tough on him, and is going to call him out for his bullshit. Again, we've already seen photos of Latrell at training. He looks a lot fitter. He's trimmed down. He's thinned out a bit, and he still looks like an absolute unit. And I'm very excited to see how he performs this year. And yeah, very keen on that. At number 4, Zach Lomax for the Parramatta Eels. After whinging, he didn't want to play wing. He wanted to be a center. He then signs with Parramatta. Everyone thinks, okay, he's probably just going to go over there and just play center and be shit. Then has an absolute gun year at wing. Wins Dally M Winger of the Year. Clutches up for Origin. He does all the goal kicking. He scores a bunch of tries. Same thing for Australia, scored some tries. And now he's gone to Parramatta with all this great success he had last year. Honestly, probably his best year he's ever had. And now he's going to go over there and play centre. So I think fans should keep an eye on him, mainly to see how he goes at centre and see how he performs. At number 3, James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors. Just won 4 premierships with the Penrith Panthers. He's a captain for the Kiwis. It only makes sense that he goes to play for New Zealand now. He's back at home. And I'm very excited to see how he goes. Not only what he brings on the field, off the field. That mentality, that true connection to their Kiwi heritage. And I'm very excited for James Fisher-Harris. At number 2, Nathan Cleary for the Penrith Panthers. This will be his first year without Jarome Luai as his halves partner. And now he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders now. Because now he has to prove to people he can still be the phenomenal halfback he is without Jarome Luai by his side. Also, people now have to watch him because he has to now remain fit for the year. Because again, he's had a few years now where he gets injured towards that middle part of the season, misses out the back half of it, comes back right before finals, clutches up, wins all the awards and trophies, and rinse and repeat for the next year. It's been a pattern. So now he has to maintain that fitness. Because I believe if Cleary does get injured at some point during this year and he's out for a large amount of weeks, I don't think Blaze Talangi and Brad Schneider or Jack Cole and Brad Schneider or Brad Schneider and Jack Cole, whatever the combination is, I don't think it's going to work out. I think Penrith will struggle. So Nathan Cleary, everyone should keep an eye on him and, just watch the phenomenal player that he is. But the number 1 spot for me has to be Jarome Luai for the Tigers. He's been named co-captain with Coruscant. He's won 4 premierships. This is going to be, a big test for him. He's gone from winning 4 premierships in a row to playing with a team that's won 3 spoons in a row. So now Jarome Luai's got a lot to play for. He's got a lot to prove. I know I said that about all these guys, but they do. They have a lot to play for, a lot to prove. I think with Jarome Luai, it's most important for him because, he's got this, cocky, arrogant energy about him that some people dislike, some people like. I like it. I think it brings a certain energy and a sort of personality to players in the NRL. So yeah, Jarome Luai I think, will be the most watched and anticipated player for 2025 because all Tigers fans are going to be excited to see him. Everyone else will be cautious and, will be critiquing his performance. So he's probably he'll be the number 1 player to watch in 2025. Now, before we wrap up the show, we're going to do some Bulldogs talk. So, in December, I went to the Doggies Christmas party. That was a great day. I got to meet all the players. I got photos with them all. I put them up on the screen. I met the skipper, Stephen Crichton. I got my 04 Heritage jersey signed. And it was just a really great day to meet up with all the fellow Doggies fans and members for next year. And, just seeing the playing squad and just appreciating the team that we've got building and what we've got to look forward to. Again, a lot of juniors were there as well. And it was great. I also got the home and away jersey for 2025, which I was very excited about because I can't wait to wear those in the kennel and at opposition teams' games. And that's going to be a lot of great fun. Now, for next Tuesday, they are doing a 90th anniversary gala night. I will be attending. I got my ticket last week. I'm very excited to attend this. They're announcing the full squads for the Bulldogs, for the NRL Bulldogs and NRLW Bulldogs. They're doing a special jersey announcement, they're revealing a new commemorative jersey for 90 years. And the big one, that they're putting 3 Bulldogs players into the Bulldogs Hall of Fame. The current list, there's 5 at most in the... Currently for the Bulldogs, there's 5 players in the Bulldogs Hall of Fame. Burns, Johns, Dr. George Paponis, Steve Mortimer, and Terry Lamb. There's now 3 new inductees to be announced on this gala night. Personally, for me, 2 of the picks, I already believe I know who they're going to be. Steve Folkes has to be one of the picks. He has to be one of the inductees. What he's done for this club, generational, next level. I believe another one should be Hazem Masri, one of our top point scorers of all time, goal kickers, try scorers, you name it. He was fantastic for us and one of those underrated players in general. The third pick was tough. Again, you got so many you can pick from. There's Michael Leacher, Chris Anderson, David Gillespie. You've got another one of the Mortimers, Jeff Robinson, Willie Mason, Ogre. There's so many you can pick from. I'm very excited. I think it might be, honestly, maybe even Steve Price. Dean Pay even. But if I'm going to select 3 picks, I'm going to go Steve Folkes, El Masri, and actually maybe Andrew Ryan. Yeah, Andrew Ryan. Actually, no. See, the third pick is so hard. No, if I'm going to lock in 3 picks, Steve Folkes, Hazem El Masri, and Steve Price. There, done. That's my pick for the 3. And yeah, but the Gala night's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. If you're listening and you're going to the Gala night as well, can't wait to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to this. It's going to be a fun night. Christmas party was great. And also, one last thing before we wrap up the show. The Bulldogs also announced they are playing the round 21 game against Manly at Allianz Stadium, commemorating 30 years since we beat them in the 1995 grand final, which I know the game was before my time. It is still a game I've watched, and I look at it with so much fondness, and it's a great game. I've watched it with a lot of love. I think this is going to be one of the biggest games of the year. I cannot wait to sit in the new Allianz Stadium for the first time, for me personally, and watch this game. Like, even just thinking about it, I'm getting emotional. Like, it's the idea that we're playing at the same venue that was played in 30 years ago, in one of the all-time grand finals. I've already got my tickets. I'll be in the kennel, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, I locked in my placement for the Bulldogs game at Belmore. To all kennel members and Blue Zone members who are watching this episode, make sure you check your emails either in the inbox or the promotion section, because the Bulldogs sent out a newsletter indicating what you need to do to lock in your spot for the Belmore game. Because there's a limited number of seats, because it's a small stadium, members have to register their membership card that they're actually going. Otherwise, their membership will be deactivated for that day. You won't be able to get into the venue. I've already locked in my spot. I'll be going. I'll be on the hill, celebrating, enjoying this game, because it is our only Belmore game for this year. We don't play at Belmore twice. Only once, and it's in round 2 against the Titans, Sunday, 6:15, the 16th of March. I'm very excited for that game. I cannot wait. And yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. Alright, everybody. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Wild Doggies Fan Podcast. If you're new here, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe, and stay tuned for all future videos. Please follow me on Instagram at the Wild Doggies Fan. We're growing more followers, more content every day, especially now with the 2025 season on the horizon. I cannot wait. Make sure you tune in next week for more Project SuperCoach 2025, Science Watch in 2025, and all the other good stuff that happens in between. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next week for another episode of the Wild Doggies Fan Podcast.